Francisco, great to have you with us. I'm Matt Weiner, Grant Hill right there, Steve Smith, the big fella, Shaquille O'Neal, who 20 years ago was preparing to wrap up a three-peat with the LA Lakers. Can you believe it's been 20 years?
That's a long time ago, even though I don't look it. Get a close-up right here. This is not Beijing in the beard. I just want to let y'all know. But no, that was a long time ago. I just asked my good friends, Steven and Grant, do they miss it? And the answers were unanimous no, but this was a fun time. It's going to be a good series, I think.
You think?
I think it's going to be a good series. I'm glad we're here for games 1 and 2, and we're looking forward to seeing who the champion is going to be this year.
We got lots of time to delve into the ins and outs of this series. Two original NBA franchises meeting in the finals for the first time since 1964. To get here, Jason Tatum's 2022 version swept Brooklyn before a pair of grueling 7-game series against the last two East champs, Milwaukee and Miami, with Tatum winning the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Steph Curry, of course, claimed the inaugural Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP. The Warriors have a deep reservoir of finals experience and rest on their side with relatively easy wins over Denver, Memphis, and then Dallas. Now the Dubs have a chance to burnish their dynasty status and become just the third team ever with 7 NBA titles. Plenty of finals experience for these franchises. For Boston, this will be their 22nd appearance in the championship round, second only to the Los Angeles Lakers. And for the Warriors, it's their 12th time around. And in terms of, you break it down to a micro level, Shaq, and look at these rosters, the Warriors have all the finals experience. 123 collective games on this Golden State roster, 0 on this Boston roster right now. So I ask you, as a veteran of the finals, how much does that matter?
It matters in this sense, and it doesn't matter. It matters in the sense of, hey, Steve, Grant, we've been here before. We've been 6 out of 8 years. They're young guns. They want what we got. A lot of people thought we wouldn't be here. Matt, Shaq, and Steve and Grant thought we wouldn't be here. We're here. We know what we got to do. On the other hand, where it doesn't matter, and I've always been saying this, my whole career, we all had to go through this. When we came in, it was Mike, Charles, and all these guys ahead of us. At some point, the student must kill the teacher to become the master. So the way Jason Tatum has been playing, he don't care about KD and Kyrie. He don't care about Giannis. So if they could have that same focus, that's why I said earlier they have a shot. But again, Golden State has all the experience, and sometimes that matters. But sometimes you get that special player. We don't care about none of that. These 3 players here at this table, we didn't care who was on the floor. We're coming to compete, and we're coming to take your spot. So kudos to Jason Tatum. He's definitely moved up. I don't know where people got him ranking, but he's definitely in the top 10, the way he's been playing. So I can't wait till the game gets started. I'm looking forward to it. And my advice to Boston, do not be happy to be here.
Yep.
Because a lot of times as young players, when you first get there, you're just happy to be here. The mission is not over. The mission is over when they say you're the champion and you're taking the parade back to Boston.
And you wouldn't be human if you didn't have some nerves coming into your first NBA Finals, which will be the case for all the Celtics. But at some point, and maybe when is the key question, doesn't it just become basketball?
It does out on the court, and I'll ask Shaq and Grant this. I think for a young team, this is the one thing I think Shaq and Grant, it's the other things, the tickets, the media. And I think that's where you have an advantage when you've been through the experience because there's so much going on when people want to be around, all the media requests. That's the one thing I think off the court that is different for teams that's not experienced.
I agree with you, Smitty. And I think, I think back to Shaq's great team in '95, and Shaq's talked about this before in Orlando, where they went there and in the moment, you guys have talked about not being ready in that moment. Obviously, not to bring that up, but Olajuwon and that great Houston team. Is Boston going to be able to handle the moment? Everything is magnified. You see it. You can feel it. Everybody's here. The distractions off the court. If they can manage that, that's important. And that's the advantage you talk about that a Golden State has, having been here before, being able to handle all the hoopla, the hype, everything that goes with being in the finals. And so that's easier said than done. But certainly this team has shown that they feel like they belong and have played that way to get here in the Celtics.
Celtics are back in the finals for the first time in 12 years after some close calls, reaching the Eastern Conference Finals a bunch of times with this young group. Why is this group equipped to win it all? Why is this group here at this level?
I think because they went through everything they said Tatum and Brown can't play together. Once you go through a little bit of adversity, and I think this coaching staff has them thinking defense, Shaq and Grant, I think that's the reason why. The one thing I love about Marcus Smart, just not because he's the defensive player of the year, but he's not afraid to call people out. So I look at this Boston team as like what Shaq said. If it's going to be a student that takes down the teacher, they have all the ingredients defensively. And then I think also to win a championship, you have to have the best player on the floor. And I think Jason Tatum, not saying he is better than Steph, but he could at times be the best player on the floor.
And I think Boston finally decided and said, Jason Tatum, you're the guy. I know a lot of times it doesn't make sense, and we get overrated. Whose team is this? But they finally said, Jason, you're number one.
Yeah.
Brown, you're 1A. Marcus Smart, you're going to be number 2. And once they, accepted that, I think, they started flourishing. And Coach Udoka has done a great job. I was kind of worried, young coach, age similar to the players. But listen, he has them focused, he has them ready, and again, Jason Tatum has just taken his game to a superstar level.
Well, and they have adjusted their offense along the way as well. This is a better passing team than the one we saw at the beginning of the regular season. And Tatum, who took some flack early in the season for shot selection and for not being a facilitator, is averaging nearly 6 assists a game in the postseason.
And that's one of the big stories of this team in this season, his playmaking ability. He was primarily a scorer looking for his shot early in his career, struggled early on, was not shooting the ball well. As you guys have talked about, this team was really struggling. It's really kind of a beautiful story how they've come together and the road that they had to take in the fight. And, game 7s against really good, veteran, solid teams that have been to the finals and have that experience. The way they defend, but Jason Tatum taking that next step and at times can be the best player on the floor, has shown that thus far to get to this point, and is capable of having that kind of moment, multiple moments in this series.
Celtics have had a grueling road to get here through the Eastern Conference. We'll see what they have for Game 1, especially here on the road after a relatively short turnaround.
The great Magic Johnson is with us tonight.
Hall of Fame mogul. Yes, indeed.
Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Jalen Rose, we are all here. Magic, we're delighted to have you back with us. And so we will start with you. As we look at this matchup, and you were just telling me before we came on how excited you are about these two teams being here. What to you is the most significant individual matchup we will see in these finals?
Well, it's definitely Curry versus Smart, right? And I know that he had success in terms of Smart against Curry in the past. But let me say this. He hasn't done it yet in the NBA Finals. And it's a different animal when you think about the finals, because don't think that Steph Curry is not conscious of him playing good defense against him, right? So he's been probably studying everything that this young man Smart has done against him so he can prepare for Game 1. And I think Steph is going to have a big series because he's mad at everybody keep talking about how Smart has controlled him, and he wants to show the world.
I agree with Magic in terms of Steph Curry having a big series, but I'm also paying attention to the nuances. I'm talking to a Hall of Famer here, a legend. Obviously, Jalen Rose played in the league for 13 years, knowing what on earth he's talking about. And this man, Mike Wilbon, covering the NBA for over 3 decades. I'm sorry. It's a compliment, my brother. It's a compliment, my brother. You don't look at one bit. Here's the deal. When I watch Marcus Smart, remember, Steph Curry got hurt earlier this year. Marcus Smart was the one who hurt him. When you look at it, not emotionally because it wasn't intentional or anything like that, but Marcus Smart is a highly aggressive and tenacious defender. I'm watching the way the game has been called in the playoffs. That's something that people underestimate. Steph Curry and Steve Kerr can collaborate to use against Marcus Smart as well. And so we got to pay attention to that. The level of aggression that Marcus Smart is going to be able to exercise. Yes, you have an abundance of Celtics who can defend straight up, and we understand that. But you have the most explosive offense in basketball as far as I'm concerned. And if anybody can figure out a way to take advantage of a potent defense, it's this Golden State Warriors team.
Let me just say this real quick, Jalen, before you jump in. Quick whistle benefits Golden State. If it's not a quick whistle, it benefits Boston Celtics.
The physical nature, perhaps,
That's right.
And the advantage to the Celtics. What do you have your eye on, Michael?
Can I go to an emotional matchup?
Sure.
Since I learned initially from the gentleman sitting to my far right about teams playing for history, about their minds and their emotions. And I remember being on the wrong side of picking a matchup when Magic was playing against the Celtics, and he was talking about the two teams having that. playing for a sense of pride, the banners that hang above them. Golden State's in that place now. You know, what's that saying from Dennis Green? You know, they are who we thought they are. The Warriors are playing with that in mind. I'm not saying Boston's a very worthy challenger. I think the most worthy challenger from the Eastern Conference. But Golden State missed those 2 years, which was beyond their control with the injuries. And now they want to show us we are who you thought we were. And so that, I think that plays heavily into this series.
I'm going to take the wings since Magic, the Hall of Fame mogul, took the point guard position, right? Klay Thompson and Wiggins. Klay returns after 941 days, helped shoot them into the NBA Finals. Wiggins started in this year's All-Star game and played really well against the Dallas Mavs. And on the other side, the ascension of Jason Tatum, how he's played in each round leading his Boston Celtics team. And Jaylen Brown, who's been a guy locking down defensively but also making big plays. So I'm interested to see how they respond in their first NBA Finals.
I'm interested in seeing Magic Johnson, who's sitting here next to us. I want to know how much does the Boston Celtics have to do with you sitting here, because if they win, they will surpass the Los Angeles Lakers for no all-time title winner.
I'm not going to hold back that I hate the Celtics. I don't want them to win, of course.
We've got